tell them the story and make sure they understand the story. So, what verses from Jonah? All right, so the book portion. The book portion, remember, is where you're going to tell them the story and make sure they understand it. So you got the whole big book of Jonah. You're not going to read the whole big book of Jonah if you're doing discussion or if you're studying through it together. So which passages are you going to use? How are you going to do it? Are you just going to read it from the Bible? Are you going to tell it creatively? Are you going to do a skit? How are you going to tell the story? Then, how are you going to check to make sure they understand it? That's what we're doing in the book, as creatively as you can to make sure that they learn it. And I'm working on getting my screen shared again, but my computer's being a jerk.
Stop being a jerk.
I know. It keeps switching Wi-Fi on me, and I'm like, stop it. I know.
What do we got? Can I wear your helmet? Yeah, go for it.
Heavy?
No heavier than a football helmet. Alright, let's get it, guys.
It looks so fun. It doesn't show me the back of your neck.
Yeah. Yeah, you want to know what's up.
Oh, true.
Yeah. But there's a thing in here for a radio. Like it's got the, like you can buy an HJC mic set. And,
That's cool.
you guys want to narrate like a play?
Sure.
Come on.
Hold on.
You guys working on it? Is that an iPad mini?
Yeah, well, got it for super cheap.
I thought about getting one.
They're nice. Should I have brought my notes to this class?
Probably.
Probably.
Yeah.
I literally just pulled in.
I figured when you came in with the helmet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought I'd be late, but I guess not.
You're going to have to depend on their notes then.
That's fine. Why are we being quizzed?
No. But you're going to need them because you're building a lesson.
Oh, I am?
Yeah, you're working with them.
So we are going to be. We're building a lesson as a group.
Mm-hmm.
So we're teaching to young adults. Yeah, that's what we're teaching. How do we?
Okay. And Rick brought these to me. I meant to have them for you this morning, but Rick brought them. I sent them last night, but they brought them to me today. So you can put it on that.
Kind of like hit the main parts. Dude, those pictures.
This might help you as you're writing it out for those of you who aren't going to get a notebook.
I mean, young adults are like, they're pretty great.
It can't go wrong.
You can do what Tony says sometimes, where it's like, what are the academic takeaways and then what are like the spiritual takeaways.
Thank you.
Yeah, so here's like just an outline version of what we're talking about here today. So here's just an outline version of what we're talking about doing here today. You guys lost someone. like leave her at the beach? Oh,
Yeah.
you actually did leave her.
We did.
I'm like, I don't know what's
You guys go. Here's just a paper outline of what we're doing here today. I'll put extras over here if you guys want them.
I know pencils or use this to start. Yo, Brian, you got another pencil? What's Okay. Objectives. What's the objectives? We're going all out on that. Yeah. So our two were for students to verify where Jonah went wrong on his journey. For students to locate. Students to verify where Jonah went wrong in his journey. And for students to locate where Jonah turned to God for direction. For students to God for direction. Okay, here's my thing. If I'm a young adult, I think reading. You can't read it all.
They wanted to fill out the entire paper first.
That's okay. That's okay. They'll have all their notes. Because you got it. You got it down earlier today. You know what to do there. Yeah, you do. How's it going? You got it? You know the age group. All right. And you got your topic?
Yes.
That's planned. And you had your main idea from earlier today?
Yes.
You wrote your objective. Get it? That you got off the top of your head randomly. Just throw it in there. Write it all in there. Write it all in there. Ooh, make that more specific. What about the story of Jonah? Yeah, but narrow it down there. Narrow it down as you get to that.
We're good at
Guys, how you doing back here?
Do we get these back to you? Do we get back to you when we're done?
Oh, let me see what you wrote. Oh,
It wasn't me. It wasn't me. It was
Malachi.
I was Malachi.
You give it to him.
We
Oh, I'm
we have
used
a
to
real
smart
paper.
with
We have a
people.
real paper over here.
We have a real outline over here.
yes, this is a great attention getter.
Yell at them.
Yes, I think we saw that this morning. They yell to get their attention. Yeah, but you forgot in a weird Scottish accent. Yeah, we saw you learned that this morning. Place that's perfect. Very nice. Yeah, see, he got it. That's perfect. Okay, but you might want to try again. How's it going, guys?
Pretty good, we think.
You think? You guys all getting this?
They've
Because
been
I'm going to
talking
need you
about
to go represent
cars.
dynamic learners here in a minute. So you got to know what you're doing.
You haven't, though.
You got it?
We're having Ainsley write it all down.
You can't depend on Ainsley to do it all for you.
No, we're
'cause I know
not.
you
We're
got
not-
skills. Oh, you're just the
He's
person.
the one writing it down.
We're the ones who are ahead.
Being written
Okay. Okay. I'm gonna come peek over Ainsley's shoulder then. Who has very neat handwriting, which I heard you want to be a teacher, so that's probably a good thing.
Yeah, I guess. Although, if I were a high
Oh,
school
don't go to
teacher,
look
I
yet.
would have
You
to
can stop it there.
Oh.
Just stop
if
it.
I were to be a high school teacher, I'd have to mess up my handwriting so much more. Because no high school teacher.
All right. All right. So you guys got your book, right? Are you getting there? Are you getting your book? Do you have your passages from Jonah selected that you're going to be teaching?
Your tablet freaked me out. I thought you broke a computer.
Oh, no. You got it? Okay, don't move on to look yet unless you're ready. Don't move on to look yet. You're not. They're like, no, they're not ready. Okay, so you getting your book down? You got it? Got it? If you got it, I'll come around because I see a lot of doubt on faces. A lot of like questioning looks. You got it? Okay. Let me come around and look. Ooh.
So we're gonna be teaching young adults.
Okay.
So we were just gonna kind of hit all the chapters and really just summarize the main points of it,
Uh-huh.
and then just like then that goes into it's pretty. I mean, it's sort of short. It's just summarize the main points of Jonah and summarize what happens in all the chapters.
So you're going to tell the story on your own.
Yeah,
So you're not going to read it from scripture, you're just going to tell it on their own.
basically, yeah.
One thing I would encourage you to do, read important verses. So go ahead and look through real quick and select some important verses that are going to help prove your objectives. Because one thing we want to do to help with people is remind them the Word of God is truth. And so when rephrasing the story and retelling the story is an excellent way to do it. But if you can toss in there the important verse as it is in Scripture, that's a really good thing to do. Because that's the way we're making it actually. Because remember, analytics like facts. So if it's not an actual fact, they're like, what are you doing to me, man? So get it in there as an actual fact, and then the creative storytelling is fun for them. Now, how are you going to check to make sure they understand what you've told them?
Maybe like that's the look, right? Make it practical.
No, that's here. Because you explain and confirm the content. So you're going to tell it, you're going to rephrase it, you're going to tell it, but how are you going to check to make sure they understand what you've just told them? You've abbreviated the story. How do you check to make sure they didn't like totally just do one of these on you?
Maybe we'll just bring a boat in and see if they get in. If not, then they understand not to get in the boat.
Give me a second. So brainstorm that. Brainstorm how you're going to check. All right, coming back here. Okay, what you're doing here, this is the analytic part here.
Right.
So you're going to read Jonah, and you're going to make sure that they're understanding it.
Yeah.
This here we haven't talked about yet.
So we can't do that part.
Don't do that part yet. So right here, you're going to ask questions. What questions are you going to ask? Okay? So yeah, brainstorm that in for a second there. But that's exactly what you're going to do. You read the story. What part of the story are you going to read?
Well, we're doing from the kids' Bible, so like
Oh,
the
from
whole story.
Okay, yeah, because that would be condensed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me just. Yeah. Okay.
So
Yeah.
the whole thing.
Okay. Good. And are you guys cool with that plan?
Yeah.
You feel like that's something you could do?
Yeah.
We brainstormed that together.
Okay. All right.
I think we're done.
What do you got for the book?
So this is it goes like steps, so like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But what was like the first time you disobeyed? Write it down. Then we were gonna read these.
Oh, yep.
Um,
What's your age group again?
This is young adults.
Oh, that's right, because you're playing Simon Says
Yeah.
for young adults.
Yeah.
Which is fun.
And then how does this apply? And then that I don't know. I wrote it up there. So discussion on the passage would be like step 3. How do we?
I would flip.
Okay.
No, okay. No, never mind. You're missing a step. One thing I would ask here, because here's the passage here.
Yeah.
But where are you checking for understanding that they understand what the verses say?
Would that be in the discussion?
You could. You
Yeah.
could include it
So I
here.
could just add in.
Yeah, so just add in a clarification question there. I don't know because I'm not recalling Jonah 1, 1 through 3 off the top of my head.
Yeah.
But if there's, is there, I mean, it might be really simple. I mean, Jonah went and got on a boat.
Yeah.
There's nothing hard to check in there. But with young adults, would there be something that you would need to clarify?
Yeah, I get that. Yeah.
Yeah. If it's a simple narrative, a simple story,
seems pretty
sometimes we don't need to. What are those
Where
verses?
If I.
Can I see your, let me see the, oh, I love a journaling Bible.
I have to get my one.
That's my devotion.
Are the best.
That's my devotional Bible that I didn't bring with me because it's too heavy for my luggage.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this might be, so there's a couple things you could think about in here, like Nineveh and Tarshish, depending on their age group. Yeah, their geography. And like we're saying, for their evil has come up against me. Well, if it's young adults, that might be where you explore a little bit, like, it's not just like a bad slap on the hand, but these people are evil.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just do some checking. Yeah, those are the type of things, like have any of you studied before how far apart these cities were, or those sort of things? Just those discussion questions you might throw in. You guys are doing great. Let me look at your next section.
Then this is. So we just tried to touch all the objectives in it. But, so
You
turning
guys
point
have
and then-
excellent questions and discussion
Yeah.
for connecting with them. Just make sure you get those clarification parts in there. Great. All right. How are you guys doing? Oh, I'm squeezing. Oh, I'm going this way. Never mind. I'm not fitting through there. Okay. What you got?
We changed things because we realized it wasn't good. So now we're saying the goal, God is always forgiving and
Oh.
compassionate.
Oh.
And then so the objective, I can only think of one, which is ask God for forgiveness, like how Jonah.
Oh, okay. So students will be able, will be
Pray.
able to ask God for forgiveness.
Like
Okay.
you can always pray, but we can't think of a second one.
That'll come to you. You can work on that one some more. Okay. So how are you going to get them curious? How are you going to hook them?
The game,
Okay. What game?
musical chairs.
How does that connect to Jonah?
Oh wait, dang it, guys, and then we have to change. Oh wait, oh yeah, it's because one person like okay wait. This absolute idiot. What did we say again? This is where Jonah is. God says go to Nineveh. He goes, I'm gonna go. Was it like I
One
think he
kid can have like control over the game.
Oh, the cheating. Things aren't fair.
Yeah.
Oh.
And then they're gonna be like, why can he do that? Like, why is he allowed to do that?
Okay. All right. And then what verses are you going to use to tell the story? Jonah 2. Okay.
Well, I just put that down. I have to like reread it.
Oh, because the prayer.
But I was thinking some of 2 and then some of 4.
Okay. Then what questions are you going to ask, or how are you going to make sure that they understand what verses you're talking about? Because that's something you do in this part here. You're not just reading it, but you're also checking to make sure they understand it.
Okay.
So that's what you got to add. All right. I'm coming to this side. How you guys doing? Do you still need a minute? Okay, so what verses did you choose?
We're doing kind of like chapter 4.
Okay. Let me remind you, high school Jonah, God's plan is greater than our plans. Oh yeah, because you're doing with the leaf and everything. Story of vacation. Okay, Jonah chapter 4.
Yeah.
Okay. How are you going to check to make sure they understand what you read? Because it's not just exploring, seeing what it says.
Yeah.
It's also confirming content. So, are you going to do some discussion through it?
Yeah.
Are you going to do some? So, what did we read? This is where you're checking. Let's see, what age group? High school. So, this is where you'd be checking to make sure they understood what you read. I mean, Jonah chapter 4. I don't think there's anything too complex in it, but I mean, a worm is going to kill a plant in like an hour. That's some mighty worm, right? So yeah, this is where we peek around the edges. This is where we make sure that they understand what does this passage mean. So what does the passage mean? So add that. All right, how you guys doing? disagrees with your statement.
Does your mind agree with my statement?
I think we're really good at coming up with ideas, but it's really hard for like all of us to come up with something to write down.
What directs that then? Because you're a teaching team. Does it match your objective? So which of your fun, creative ideas is going to match your objective? Because there's a lot of fun, creative ideas. And if they both do, rock, paper, scissors it out. All right, I'll be back to check. All right, how are you guys doing? I don't see a book. Okay, so junior high, Jonah. Be able to identify someone in their life, flex God's narrative. Students will be able to discuss how they can be that person to others. This is great discussion. Students will distance.
I don't think we should. I'm gonna.
Oh, so you're going. That's actually really fun. You gotta have a really nice little doggy.
Yeah, but it doesn't make sense.
Okay.
It doesn't. I just don't see how it relates to our main idea.
It's a valid question.
Because if we're just calling the dog out when he's like avoiding, like he doesn't go to the distractions, he just goes to you.
You'd have to make sure you had a really well-trained dog.
Right.
Because my dog, it wouldn't work.
I see.
My dog would only go to 10.
Right. I just don't. To me, that gives the implication that we're talking about turning away from worldly desires and going to God. I don't know.
You guys did pick a hard objective. It's not bad. You just picked one that challenged you. You can Google ideas.
I forget, she just texts me and then she tells me to tell you guys. It should be really easy. She's like,
I'm not opposed to it. Okay. Let me see your book. You see your book yet?
still trying to figure out some ideas.
We got Legos. We got Legos.
Yeah.
We're consistent.
What is the dog? What is the dog?
Okay. Without, with and without. Okay. Yes, and that bridge into. Okay, so did you choose your verses from Jonah?
That's what we're doing right now.
Okay. And then how do you explain it? Because it's not just what do we read, it's how do we check for understanding. So make sure you're doing both.
And I think we're gonna do like one section, explain it, go to the next. I think, right?
Cool. Are you going to do like the amplified version of it? Like he's going to tell it and then like retell it? Are you going to do discussion questions? You can do a little jig. You're going to do the Jonah pirate song? I mean, get as creative.
You know, like Nate built that block wall one time, and he had, or like he's had people go up on the stage and he like acts it out with them, separates them. What about like doing something that while we tell the story, like having people come up when somebody be Jonah, somebody be Will, because then people are watching and seeing if having a visual. Like I'm visual, it's like an activity, seeing it done, so I know how to do it perfectly.
It's a fun way. Jonah's an easy one to do that because it's a simple narrative. It's not hard to explain, but you can see it up there. Yeah.
Somebody could.
All right, I'm going to step into the next section on this because we got a couple groups that are still working on their book, and that's okay. But I'm going to step into the look because there's a couple groups that are ready for that. So you guys just, if you're on the book portion, you keep working on that. You get into the look when you're ready, okay? So I couldn't get the screen, the Wi-Fi, and I were not friends today, so it's all right. So here's what Here's the next section. The next section here is look. The look section is ideal for collaborative learners. Who are my collaborative learners? For common sense learners. Look is ideal for common sense. Who are common sense? Yeah. What this part does is it creates a bridge from the Bible story to real life. How many of you, my common sense learners, have gone and listened to someone preach a sermon, teach a lesson, and they get really deep and really analytical, and you're like, I got nothing out of that. And other people are like, that was so wonderful. They knew so much. And you're like, or either you're like, I'm just going to sit back here and be quiet because I didn't really get anything out of it. That's what happens for common sense learners. Common sense learners can go hear the wisest people, but if there isn't a connection made to real life, they don't get anything out of the lesson. And that's what look is doing. The look part of the lesson is to connect your story to real life. That's what you're doing. So you've caught their attention with the hook, you got them engaged, you've given them new information, new thinking, new understanding with the book, and now it's time to play with the lesson material. And that's what we're doing with the look. We begin to play with the lesson material. Remember, these are the people who, with the bike parts, they're not looking for the instruction manual, they're just going to start putting the pieces together. So how do you let them play with the lesson of Jonah? How do you make it practical? Explaining scripture isn't enough. Connect it. This is especially true with adults. We do a better job with little kids in this section. But with adults, how do we connect it? How do we make it real life? Don't just explain it. Don't just give it one simple moral truth, but connect it. Discussion. This is, with adults, we do this all the time. We have discussions. That's what we do. We discuss. But for you common sense, you're tired of sitting still. Right? Right? Yes. You're tired of sitting still. You want to actually do something. So think about it. This could be like giving people a case study. You guys know what case studies are? Yeah. You give someone a story that doesn't have a right or wrong answer. And you have people discuss it. That's a good way to connect the Bible truth to what you're talking about because it's a real life example. So some of you have obeying God. Give people a case study where someone's having to choose to obey God. And have them think that through. Common sense learners like that sort of thing because they know what the Bible story says, but now it's real life. What do we do when we're in this tough moral situation and we want to obey God? What do we do? Case studies work great for that. Crafts work for any age and any demographic, but you just don't call it crafts when it's with men and older men. You just call it things like, we're going to do home improvement. Right? Okay. Trust me, it works. You can have them, one of the things that we do at our chapels sometimes is we were studying through Psalms, and we wrote out a psalm as a group. So we were talking about the need to call on God and how we call on God. Well, yes, we know David did. But that's not something most of us are going to be like, you just stare blank at a piece of paper. And so they led us through a guided step-by-step how to write out a psalm. And we wrote psalms together. But the trick was you only got to write one line. And you had to pass it to the person next to you. But it had to go with the theme that we were talking about. So if we're talking about trusting God, I'm writing the first line of the psalm, and I pass it to the next person who reads my line, and then writes the next line. And you pass it to the next, and you pass it around the circle. It's a good way to do those sort of things. But how do we bring it to today? How do we connect it to today? And make sure you go back to your objective. You can throw in a game here, too, if you want to. This is another place you can throw in games. You can throw in whatever you want here. But does it create that bridge between the Bible and real life? Like I said yesterday, you can teach people about the tabernacle. It's a really cool, really interesting thing to learn about. Love to study the tabernacle. But for a common sense learner, unless you can tell them why studying the tabernacle is important and practical, they check out. So this is where you make it practical. Why do we do this? So those of you who are ready, start on the look. Those of you who are not ready, continue on your book.
first Noah's water.
Hey, what'd you do? I just woke him up at like after dark or something.
So you ready now? You got where you're going? Okay. So making it practice.
Came up with our points in our game.
Yep. We're adding a second game.
We're gonna play Simon Says because if you don't do what God says, or the Simon, or
What if
whatever,
instead of
then-
Simon says, you did like Jonah says?
yeah, or well, it would be God.
God.
Says.
God says. Well, except you don't want to be God.
Then it can be just like
Because you're going to be like Jonah. You're going to learn from Jonah's mistake and you're going to obey God. So I'm going to pretend I'm Jonah today. Because Jonah was a prophet and he told Nineveh, obey God. So you could do Jonah. So it's the same game as Simon Says, but you're...
That's
Yeah.
what we do for like everything, like Eds
Yeah.
and stuff. We just change the name.
Yeah. And it makes them listen a little bit more because they're used to Simon Says.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, you're going to give candy to the winners.
They want a candy. That was.
Candy?
Give candy to the ones that listen. It's
That's like
rewards.
sad though. What about the ones who like just mess up the game because it's?
I was not a give candy. We didn't give candy when I do junior church until the end when they're ready to walk out.
Yeah.
And they have to ask their moms for permission.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Because we don't know food allergies.
Exactly. Yeah.
That was always something we wrote down when you came to our children's program.
Yeah, but sometimes if a kid doesn't come with a parent, they come with a aunt or an uncle or a cousin or a friend, sleepover. You're just never 100% sure.
That's true.
So we don't do a lot of snacks in our kids program. They're there for an hour. They'll be fine for an hour without. Yeah. Yeah. There's other times that we do food and we do food. We check, and we check to make sure we have food allergies. We've got name tags with allergies on them. How you guys doing?
I'm just trying to organize all of it over here. And then we're trying to think of like what we can clarify for each passage. So
You also have very neat handwriting,
thank you when I try.
and it's small and neat.
No, it's you.
Thank you.
So you guys know if you need something written, who to go to.
Does anyone have water? I'm like dying.
There's water fountains. Go get a drink, man. Who's her? Abby's. You got it. What do you got?
Okay, so to the content, confirming content. After we're gonna have them pair up in groups and just talk about what was talked about.
Oh, you notice I did that the other day. Like you do it individually, then you pair up.
So we're
It's
gonna
called
do
Think, Pair, Share.
and then make it practical. We're gonna since at the start we're gonna to hook them. We're gonna like talk about how in our lives we messed up by not doing what God wanted us to do, and like how that in turn like messed up in that either way God got what He wanted out of the situation. And then to like come back to that, we're gonna make it practical by telling them like another situation on where we did follow God's plans like all the way through, and that how it was just smooth and easy.
It's mine.
At once.
I was looking at this.
And then
It's upside down. You want?
how
I mean, I have pretty bad handwriting, but
like maybe examples in their life that how that can be like something that they can do. And then we're gonna give them a bracelet that says
Oh, save that for this one.
we did.
yeah, but
We went
just
to that
messed
one
it-
already.
we messed it down.
Because we had already finished this one.
Okay.
Talked
Yeah,
about
because
it.
we're not took yet.
Well, too bad.
You're ready. Here's one thing I would encourage you to do with this, making it practical.
Yeah.
You might encourage, like, as you're talking about it, create some like hypotheticals. Some hypothetical situations, like so they're not case studies. They're just some hypotheticals.
Let's do that, yeah.
Yeah. How you guys doing?
Doing okay.
Did you get through the book? You got your verses?
Yes.
You're gonna explain them?
Yes.
Is that what you're gonna do?
We don't have the whole lesson planned out, but we have like the whole idea for this lesson.
Okay, what are you gonna do for your took? You got collaboratives here. You got two? The look. Yeah, sorry, we're not to took yet. What do you like?
Like what?
What do you like when people are teaching? What do you like? That I like. Okay, so how can you make this hands-on?
That's what it's in our book. Goodbye, fish.
Huh?
If we bring in a fish, we can give each of them a fish.
How are you gonna touch the fish? It's gonna like fall in your hand.
A dead fish.
My mom said it was.
I have a funny story to tell you later about an octopus, but anyway.
I think that'd be pretty good. I think
At one of the camps I went to, I'll just tell you now, instead of playing capture the flag, they played capture the octopus.
it was all
Real
slimy.
octopus?
That sounds like
The real octopus. He's dead, but how can you make sure that if they're learning that Bible truth and taking it home, that it's practical, so that it matches your objective? Because what's your objective here? Identify an area of your life you may feel you don't.
Just don't we have to ask a question?
There's other things you could do. The questions work. But, I mean, you get bored with questions, right?
well, it depends. I don't know. I think like those kind of open-ended questions where it's like you have to decide. Those kind of.
Yeah, that's one of the ideas I gave them, is like to create hypothetical situations. What would you do in this sort of situation? So,
We could make the story of Jonah super vague, and then like change some details. That way they don't recognize it's Jonah, and then be like, "What would you do?" And then explain the story, and then
but bring it modern day.
and then go back to the story and be like,
And
"Job
then-
did this."
And then take it into their lives. Have you had a moment that you know God's been asking you to do something and you just were like, nope?
Can this be before this?
Yes, it can. The only thing is sometimes if you haven't taught this, you'll get some wackadoodle answers.
I think that's a good thing. If we're doing it like that, where it's like make it almost unrecognizable, and then have them answer how they want to, and get like a bunch of different answers.
I would
Then
encourage
you
you
go-
to put it in twice then.
Okay.
Hook, look, book, look, took. Yeah. Like when we teach preschoolers, because preschoolers are like 2 or 3 years old, they only have a 2 to 3 minute attention span. Most people do hook, book, look, hook, book, look, book, look, book, look, and then they go back and forth because their attention span is so short. They'll rotate through all of that a lot of times. Because I don't think when you teach preschoolers, it should just be a 5-minute lesson and then go play on the playground. So, yeah, you teach it. So this is just the basic framework. You can modify that framework for the context you're in.
So, we're going to know what we thought.
Yes.
So, God's purpose for this is
And to comfort him, yeah.
for the making sure that we have a kid. And we give him a spoon. Start to make the cakes. And then we give the cake like an
Stick your hand in it, it does the same thing. Nobody wants to eat anything, you've just stuck your
Stick
hand
your
in
hand
it.
in it.
And they remember it too. Except that weird junior high boy.
Yes?
Yeah. I'm gonna go check on this group. Oh, you're back. I was just coming to check on you. You must have needed silence.
So, yeah,
So how's it going? Okay.
I think we got it down.
You got it?
Yeah.
Tell me what you got.
Okay. So we have our main idea is loyalty, and God will not leave you even if you stray.
Okay.
So when the kids come in, they're going to be given like dog treats, dog toys, bones, whatever the king's dog's like. And then when the speaker comes in, they'll bring in a dog with them, and the kids will be able to use their objects, like call the dog to them. But then the speaker will call the dog back, and the dog will come back up to the speaker and be rewarded with something better than what the students had. And then we'll kind of do
So very well trained dog.
No, we switched it. Not a watching dog. Because the dog doesn't get tempted by.
Oh.
Yes, so the dog goes.
You need like a puppy that's like not listening to
They
anybody.
eventually after it did everything, then it'll come back to life.
Okay.
And then we'll have like a little diagram, kind of just like we'll draw on the board, kind of like, okay, so like, you know, we had Jonah. Yeah, it's literally the story of Jonah. So,
But you're gonna draw it.
Yeah.
Oh,
like,
good.
You know, Jonah and God were, there talking. He's like, go to Nineveh. And he says, no. So he goes here, gets thrown in the sea, gets eaten by the fish, and he's like, okay, I'm ready to listen. And he goes to Nineveh, and rewarded by God.
That's a great way to tell the story. You can check for understanding as you're going. Yeah.
And then our make it look practical. Practical was just you wrote that one down, but like.
I just like relating it back to the dog thing. Like, why did the dog not stay by my side? That he left because he didn't want to be put in a situation.
That can be more like
Wanted to seek something
school.
better. What he thought was better.
So like, and you can relate that to like school. Like, like some kids might be like, hey, like, come drinking with us because that's what's cool, but like it's not, and like you call them back, or like other temptations like that, and like relate it to them. And then our make it the took we just said like.
Oh, took we're not to yet.
Not to yet.
So
Wouldn't
you're
that just
ahead.
be the objectives.
Huh?
Wouldn't that just be your objectives, like to take also?
You guys already wrote it into your objective. Yeah. Yeah. That's what happens sometimes when you write your objectives well. It creates your activities. All right. All right, the last portion on here, and then we're going to end. The last portion on your lesson plan is your took. Don't leave this part out. Don't leave it out. Dynamics, raise your hand. Where's our dynamics? Here's what often happens. We come in, we capture people's attention, we tell them a Bible story, we sort of connect it to today. Let's go play a game. Let's close a dodgeball in prayer. How many of you went to that youth group sometimes? Yeah. What has happened as a result of that is dynamics have been left out of the learning. And they don't know what they're supposed to do. Because that's not where they don't feel the smartest in the hook. They don't feel the smartest in the analytical. They don't feel the smartest in the look. They feel the smartest in the took. But when we're supposed to be doing took, a lot of times what we do is we play dodgeball. And so, or in the sermon, it's like, well, follow the Holy Spirit. And it's like, well, yes, but how? And so what you want to do is to challenge people to take it out of the classroom. And I want you to actually think about how you're going to challenge them. Don't just say, I want to challenge you, but say, this is the plan. This is what you're going to do. Or practice it in the classroom to take out of there. So challenge them to make decisions. Challenge students to respond through silent prayer, through writing an action point. Maybe they'll walk forward in an invitation. Give them something to take home. Give them something to put in their Bibles. Give them something that's going to be something that they go home with that week that is that thing that connects them to the lesson. Whether it's a mental something, a verbal something, or a physical something, but it has to be something that is a plan to connect them to the lesson. The difference between a look and a took is a look is hypothetical. The took is the actual plan. It's the actual plan for what I'm going to do. So in the look, I might create sort of this idea like, hey, this is what we could do, or this is what we could do, or this is how this relates to my life. But in the took, I say, this is what it's going to do. So some of you are talking about Jonah, and you're talking about forgiveness. So in the look, we might talk about how, yeah, Jonah, God forgave them, but Jonah was not forgiving. And we can talk about that in our life, how, yeah, God forgave these people, but I'm having a hard time forgiving, and we'll talk about that in the hypothetical in look. When it comes to the took, what you do is you say, all right, we need to create a plan for the people we need to forgive in our life. And you might talk about a passage that talks about forgiving people. You might say, pray about how you're going to forgive someone this week. Whatever it does that meets the needs of the students and at the context where you're at. But it's an actual plan that you have for students to do. And it's something that they can start in the classroom and take with them as they go. So we have to teach our students that the Bible and God aren't just for Sunday mornings. And that's all students. In the past, we've taught people to just come in and sit down for church and to listen to what we have to say. That's kind of the hook of the book and the look do that. We come in, we sit down, we might have a discussion, we might do a little bit of interaction. But if you don't actually create that plan, people sometimes don't know what to do. Create the plan. The took is that plan. Think creatively about your took. We're going to come back tomorrow, and I've got some more tips for you. We're also going to play with this lesson plan a little bit more, just so you get more comfortable with it. The more you do it, the more you get comfortable with it. But we're done for today.